When Mark met Sarah, it felt like the universe had finally aligned. He was a quiet, steady software engineer, a man who found comfort in logic and order. Sarah was a whirlwind of color and chaos, an artist who painted her feelings onto vast canvases. She was vibrant, passionate, and saw the world in a way he never could. Their friends were surprised, but for Mark and Sarah it just worked. He was her anchor, and she was his endless sky. Their first few years of marriage were idyllic. They bought a small house with a big yard for the dog they planned to get. Mark would come home from work to find Sarah in her studio, splattered with paint, a triumphant smile on her face as she revealed her latest creation. He'd wrap his arms around her, not caring about the paint smudging his shirt. Their love felt like a fortress, impenetrable and safe. The first crack appeared about 5 years in. Sarah started spending late nights at a new gallery downtown. She said it was for networking, for inspiration. Mark trusted her completely. Why wouldn't he? But then the calls started. Calls from a number he didn't recognize, which she'd quickly dismiss. She started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. Mark's logical mind tried to piece it together, but his heart refused to see the obvious pattern. The confrontation was messy. He'd found a text message, a simple, "Last night was amazing," from someone named Julian. The name hit him like a physical blow. Julian was a fellow artist from the gallery, someone Sarah had mentioned in passing as just a friend. When Mark showed her the phone, her vibrant world seemed to lose all its color. She broke down, tears streaming down her face, mixing with the acrylic paint smudges on her cheeks. She confessed everything. It had been a brief affair, a moment of weakness, she'd said. She swore it was a mistake, that she was lost, that she didn't know what she was doing. She promised with a raw desperation in her voice that Mark believed that it would never, ever happen again. She loved him, only him. And Mark, who loved her more than logic itself, forgave her. Forgiveness, he thought, was part of love. Rebuilding was hard. The trust was a shattered mirror, and even pieced back together the cracks were always visible. He'd find himself checking her location, feeling a knot of anxiety in his stomach whenever she was late. But he tried. For them. For the fortress they had built. For a while, things were better. Sarah seemed more attentive, more present. She suggested they finally get that dog, a golden retriever they named Apollo. Apollo filled the house with a joyful energy they both desperately needed. It felt like they were healing, like the cracks were slowly being filled with gold. Mark allowed himself to hope, to believe in her promise. He let his guard down, piece by piece. The second time was different. It was subtler, more insidious. There was no single piece of evidence, no smoking gun. Just a slow, creeping distance. Sarah was working on a huge commission, she explained. She needed space, needed to focus. She moved into the guest room, saying the smell of turpentine on her kept him awake. It made sense on the surface, but Mark's gut told him a different story. He started noticing small things. A new expensive perfume she wore even when just going to her studio. She'd smile at her phone, a private, secret smile that wasn't for him. The late nights returned, but this time they were excused as creative breakthroughs that couldn't be interrupted. He felt like a ghost in his own home, watching his wife live a life that didn't include him. He didn't want to confront her. He was terrified of what he'd find, terrified of breaking what little they had left. But one evening he came home early, hoping to surprise her with dinner. The house was empty. A quick check of their shared calendar showed nothing planned. He called her, and it went straight to voicemail. Panic clawed at his throat. He called her best friend, who sounded flustered and said she thought Sarah was with him. Driven by a desperate need to know, he drove to the gallery downtown. It was closed. Then he remembered Julian, the artist from before. He found Julian's address online. As he pulled up to the apartment building, his heart hammered against his ribs. And there, parked on the street, was Sarah's car. He just sat there for what felt like an eternity. The engine off, the silence deafening. He didn't go up. He didn't make a scene. He just drove home. When Sarah walked in hours later, humming a cheerful tune, she found Mark sitting in the dark, with Apollo's head resting on his lap. "Hey, you're home early," she said, flicking on the light. Her smile faltered when she saw his face. It was a mask of calm, but his eyes held a storm. "How was Julian's?" he asked, his voice eerily quiet. This time there were no tears, no desperate pleas. Her face hardened, the vibrant artist replaced by a cold stranger. "You followed me?" she asked, her voice sharp with indignation. "You lied to me." "Again," he stated, the words tasting like ash. "Mark, it's not what you think," she started, the old, tired script. "Isn't it?" he cut her off. "Isn't it exactly what I think? You made a promise to me, Sarah. You looked me in the eyes and swore you would never hurt me again." And then she said the words that finally demolished the last pillar of their fortress. "Maybe I'm just not built for promises, Mark. Maybe this is just who I am." There was no regret in her voice, no remorse in her eyes, just a chilling acceptance. It wasn't a mistake this time. It was a choice. She had looked at their life, at his love, at the promise she had made, and she had chosen to break it all without a second thought. The first time, she had broken his trust. This time, she had broken him. He realized in that moment that the woman he loved didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never had. He had been in love with a painting, a beautiful, vibrant image she had created. But underneath the layers of bright paint, the canvas was blank. The divorce was quiet. Sarah moved in with Julian almost immediately. Mark stayed in the house, surrounded by the ghosts of their life together. For months, the silence was his only companion, besides the steady, comforting presence of Apollo. He'd walk through the rooms, tracing the life they were supposed to have. He'd look at her empty studio, the canvases left behind, and feel nothing. The pain had been so immense, it had carved him out, leaving him hollow. But slowly, day by day, he started to fill that hollowness. Not with another person, but with himself. He started hiking on the weekends, finding a quiet strength in nature's unyielding logic. He reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during his all-consuming marriage. He learned to cook, finding a simple joy in creating something nourishing for himself. One day he went into Sarah's old studio. He took down her unfinished canvases and packed them away. He bought his own tools, his own wood. He wasn't a painter, but he was a builder. He started crafting a beautiful, sturdy bookshelf. As he worked, sanding the wood, fitting the joints, he felt a sense of peace. He was building something new, something for himself, something solid and real and true. He learned that some promises are meant to be broken, not because love fails, but because people choose to fail love. And his own promise, the one he made to himself now, was to never again let someone else's chaos destroy his own carefully built peace. He had been the anchor, but he learned he was also his own harbor. And for the first time in a very long time, that felt like more than enough. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.